If you've been trying to keep up to date with the Necro meta based on the leaderboard, you'll probably have noticed that virtually every Necromancer has their build on private, and that's because we're all hiding secret builds and secret techs that allow us to perform such a high level. Well, currently I'm sitting at rank 4, I've been in and out of rank 1, but I've been pretty much top 5 since Gauntlet came out, and today I'm going to showcase my build, and let me tell you, I'm friends with a lot of the other top players. I talked to them, I've seen their streams. Pretty much everybody is playing a similar build, and that build is Blood Surge. Blood Surge absolutely annihilates Gauntlet. It is ridiculously fast. It has extremely good synergy with the arrow shooting pylon, right? Whenever you have that power, you're just shooting arrows in a giant AoE around you, cleaving everything down with ease, and the Blood Surge itself has fantastic AoE on it. So the build is just incredibly good. And today we're going to look at my setup and what I'm running, and we're going to also talk about some alternatives and maybe even some uber unique replacements. But this is kind of a showcase video. This is not meant necessarily to be a build that you can necessarily play unless you have a lot of the gear for it. But, you know, I just kind of wanted to show you guys what the top meta looks like since everyone's builds are on private. So let's start with the skills, because there's something kind of odd that I'm personally doing, which is that I'm only playing 5 skills. Now this is for 2 reasons. The first one is because I am just so used to interacting with left click that I want to keep using it, but the problem is as long as there's mobs there, you can't click on shrines or anything else if you have a castable ability on left click. So you have 2 options. You either play with 5 skills, which for Necro by the way is totally fine, or you rebind your interact hotkey. So that's why I'm only playing with 5 skills. But let's move on to the gear, and there's going to be some weird things in the gear and also some things that you fully expect. For starters, I am not running Harlequin, I'm actually running the Godslayer crown. And, you know, I know as part of making this video, a bunch of Necros are now going to shoot up in the leaderboard. It's going to be a lot more competitive, but I do think it's cool to talk about it. And, you know, what's the point of being high rated if we don't talk about it, right? So here I am revealing my secrets, but... Okay, so I'm running Godslayer Crown over Harlequin. Harlequin is really good. The +4 to all skills is not going to be as good for your burst damage as Godslayer Crown. Godslayer's Crown on an elite, right? Like you walk up to a boss, especially like the first boss and some of the later bosses, like if you ever have scale boss without a pylon, the Godslayer Crown is going to give you 60% damage against it, and with 1 overpower, it's just going to die. Maybe with 2 overpowers, but Godslayer Crown is a huge damage multiplier. On my chest piece, I'm running the Aspect of Shielding Storm. This is because of a very specific pull, actually. There's a pull that you have to do where you pull all of the bosses into one area, and then, you know, you kill them all with double point shrine, and you reset it. Man, it's weird to talk about this, but... and you reset it, right? So Shielding Storm during that allows you to be tanky enough to survive even with, you know, 15 elites and 3 bosses on you. So that's why I'm running it. Right now I'm running quad DR on my chest piece, but I don't think this is optimal. I think if I were to have a fully min-max chest piece, I'd be looking for intelligence and maybe even all stat if I'm still tanky enough. My gloves are completely BIS. Intelligence, attack speed, crit chance, ranks of blood surge. That intelligence you can argue between int and overpower damage, but I like the int because if you overinvest into overpower damage, then your non-overpower blood surges aren't going to one-shot stuff. So it's really important to be playing with, you know, some damage even if you don't overpower. So that's why I prefer the intelligence. But on my pants, I am running Blood Moon Breaches. Now, you know, this is going to give you a 70% multiplier overpowers. Now, there are a lot of people who run Tybalt's Will, in large part because the Tybalt's Will is going to, you know, give you the 40% damage while buffing, you know, your non-overpowered blood surges, and it's going to be increasing the damage of the pylon that shoots arrows. So Tybalt's Will is a very competitive alternative. Personally, I prefer Blood Moon Breaches because of the increased boss kill speed. So bosses are, especially when you don't have pylons, can be problematic, and the Blood Moon Breaches allow you to kill them extremely fast. That being said, I do understand why some people run Tybalt's, but I think both are good. On your boots, you got to run Metamorphosis. Now, my you know, intrinsic property on my boots is evade gives 75% movement speed, which is totally useless. That really needs to be evade attacks reduce evade's cooldown or evade charges. But these are the boots I got to work with, so this is what I'm running. Obviously, we didn't know we would need Shrine Buff Duration, but Shrine Buff Duration is absolutely essential because not only are you picking up shrines the entire time you're doing the gauntlet, but also, you know, you have the one specific shrine that's going to increase your points from killing mobs, and that is buffed by Shrine Duration. So kind of have to have it. So on my boots, I'm running int, movement speed, shrine buff duration, and essence cost reduction, which are all great stats. For my weapon, now this is another place where I vary from what a lot of other players are playing. A lot of people are playing a main hand offhand, but I'm playing grandfather. I won't go into the full reasons as to why. I will keep this one thing a secret.
Alright then, keep your secrets.
But grandfather in general allows you to kill things in one hit rather than 2 hits, and because of the way that the overpowers work, right, you're only overpowering every few attacks, and so you want those overpowers to kill stuff, right? And on top of that, I am running Wrathman's Chosen on my necklace for 75% attack speed every time I overpower. So even though it is a two-handed weapon, I can still get the increased attack speed. But keep in mind, there are a lot of top Necros who are opting for main hand offhand currently, with a focus for the cooldown reduction. And yeah, but this is what I'm playing. So then, Starless Skies, of course, 40% damage, 40% RCR. Makes a lot of sense. And then I'm running Ring of Sacrilege. This is one where people kind of go back and forth. I like the auto-casted Corpse Tendrils and the Essence Generation. I think that you can argue against Sacrilege in favor of either a resource generating aspect or, you know, another damage aspect, because you can afford another damage aspect if you want to. But, you know, personally, I think Sacrilege is best. But yeah, that's my gear. Oh, I forgot to mention stats on Necklace, by the way. Essence cost reduction, shrine buff duration, and movement speed are all super mandatory. And for the last stat, just get something with a damage multiplier, some passive with a damage multiplier. Now, I have ranks of imperfectly balanced at 2, which sucks, and obviously this is an 864 necklace, but I'm still able to res cap. It's really not a big deal. It's kind of whatever. You know, obviously we kind of had to... You'll notice that, you know, a lot of my gear is extremely good, aside from the gear that I had to get shrine buff duration on. But this is kind of what the setup looks like, right? So hopefully this gives you some kind of idea. So next, let's talk about the skill tree. So your basic skill doesn't matter. And then I'm putting 5 points into Blood Surge, taking Enhanced Blood Surge and Paranormal Blood Surge for the overpowers. Now, Supernatural Blood Surge is actually pretty decent. It's going to give you 30% damage all the time on your Blood Surges. The problem is that you need the overpowers to kill bosses when you don't have shrines. I've mentioned this before, but that's a big part of it. So the guaranteed overpowers from Paranormal end up being really important. And it's also going to allow you to oftentimes one-shot elites, whereas normally you wouldn't be able to. We're also going to be putting 3 points in Imperfectly Balanced, because the essence cost is no problem because of one secret that I will reveal to you guys in my Paragon board. Just don't tell any of the other top Necros, okay, guys? Don't tell them, but I'll show you guys what I did on my Paragon board. So, then we're running Corpse Explosion with Blighted Corpse Explosion. This is for proccing Reaper's Pursuit. You know, Sacrilege is auto-casting it for 15% movement speed. 1 point into Grim Harvest and 3 points into Fueled by Death for a 9% damage multiplier. 3 points into Death's Embrace for the 6% damage. And the damage reduction is okay, but obviously we're mostly running this for the damage multiplier. 3 points amplify damage. And then we're running Iron Maiden, not Decrepify. So, you know, I don't know if people know this, but basically Iron Maiden is way better than Decrepify for gauntlets. Because it generates a ton of essence, right? So this just makes it way better. So don't run Decrepify, definitely run Iron Maiden. The cooldown reduction and damage reduction on Decrepify barely matters, right? Like, you know, we are running Bone Storm just kind of raw with no buffs, just for the 20% crit against bosses. But, you know, you don't need any of the stuff from Decrepify for Gauntlet. And Iron Maiden gives you essence rather than costing essence. So it's way better, and it still counts as a curse. So, 1 point into Gruesome Mending, 3 points into Coalesced Blood, 3 points into Drain Vitality, and 3 points into Tides of Blood. You know, obviously, Coalesced Blood and Tides of Blood, both great damage multipliers, and then Drain Vitality is going to give us Fortify Generation. We are running Plagued Corpse Tendrils for their Vulnerable application, so we do have a little bit of access to Vulnerable through the pet and through Plagued Corpse Tendrils. Again, you only need Vulnerable for bosses, and especially when you don't have your buffs. And so that's why we're having the pet apply Vulnerable as our main source, but we also get Vulnerable from this. Coming down here, 3 points in Inspiring Leader for the 12% attack speed, 3 points in Standalone for the damage reduction, and 3 points in Momentum Mori for the damage multipliers. And then we are running Bone Storm with Supreme and Prime. Like I said, you generally want to Bone Storm against elites, and there's also that specific pull where you drag all 3 bosses. I'm sorry, don't Bone Storm on elites, Bone Storm on bosses. Aside from that one pull in particular where you drag 3 bosses, you're going to want your Bone Storm. So, Bone Storm is really useful for those kind of situations where you need the survivability, and it also gives you 20% crit whenever you're approaching an enemy. Obviously with Grandfather, it's super important. So, and then for a key passive, running Rathlum's Vigor, of course, for the blood, guaranteed overpowers every 12 seconds. On our construct, standard, flash, general, tactical support, duration support, genesis. And then I'm running Tempest with resource, Evernight, and breaking. Now there are other options other than breaking, like, you know, increased crit chance and some other things. I like breaking. My thought process is like, I mostly care about this effect. Whatever the effect you put in here is most important in the first 1 minute of Gauntlet. And my thought process is, if I don't crit, then okay, whatever, I'll just reroll. But with vulnerable, if I do crit, I get the 25% damage, right? So I'd much prefer breaking over, you know, any of the other options personally. So that's what I'm running. And then of course Evernight for +4 all, and resource support for the resource generation. Book of the Dead, we're sacrificing skirmishers for the crit chance. Mages, we're doing bone mages for the overpower damage. Now there is an argument for cold, but like, because we want to kill stuff when we're not overpowering, right? That's a really important part of the build. But I do think that the overpower multiplier here is just too much to pass up. And the other thing is, against trash, we don't apply vulnerable anyway. We're just running through it, killing it. So, not good. And then bone, you know, 25%. So, pretty damn good. And then, of course, Iron Golem, right? For a whopping 30% crit damage. Huge multiplier. And then we'll close with the Paragon board, and I'll show you my secret tech, okay, that I hold dear to my heart. That, you know, I'll reveal it, okay? It's fine. So, we're taking Essence, so you'll notice all of our glyphs are going to be full damage, right? So we're taking Essence, and then we're coming up here to Bloodbath for the 35% multiplier and overpower, taking Amplify for 10%, coming up here, taking Scent of Death. You know, our Sacrilege is going to be eating corpses, and we're going to be running, right? So there's almost never going to be corpses near us, so it's 15%. Corporeal is another 10%. Blood begets blood. No, we don't get a ton of blood orbs, but whatever. We kind of have extra points here. Dominate, you know, 12% plus a huge additive multiplier, or sorry, a huge additive damage component. Then we're coming here to Flesh Eater, which doesn't have, you know, 100% uptime, but we are getting this buff up like 10 or 15% of the time. And there's specific times where I line up Flesh Eater so that I can one-tap bosses, okay? So this is partly why I'm running it. Sacrificial for the 10%. And then the secret tech is we're coming down here and we're getting these essence on kill nodes. So this is what allows the build to operate with no essence generation anywhere. You know, I don't have any resource generation aspect or anything like that. And I'm getting all of my essence from these things. And you can see from the gameplay that it's no issue at all. Pretty much once you take these, you never run out of essence. So that's the build, guys. First Gauntlet video. Kind of sad I wasn't rank 1 for the video. I could have made it the video day 1 when I was rank 1, but I don't know. Kind of wanted to wait and see the meta settle down a bit. But Blood Surge is absolutely dominating. If you guys want more Gauntlet content, let me know what kind of stuff you want to know. Do you want to know about routes? Do you want to know about builds? What kind of stuff do you want to hear about Gauntlet, or even the rest of the game? Do you want me to cover some of the builds that got buffed? What kind of content do you want to see? So obviously, you know, Mendel Minions is a build that I still need to post. But other than that, you know, let me know what you guys want to see. I'm trying to figure out what kind of content to make. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. See you around. Peace.